Welcome back to Preservation Travels with Lane and Kevin here at Our Restoration Nation. Today, we're bringing you to Dunleith. I'm on the porch today of Dunleith, the only surviving example of Greek Revival architecture in Mississippi that has a 360-degree columned facade. But that's only one of the amazing things about Dunleith. Let's go inside and I'll show you some of the other treasures. Well, here we are inside the central hall of Dunleith. Now, it's important to point out that Dunleith was never a plantation. A lot of you are going to see the exterior of this home and automatically label it a plantation home, but plantation home isn't a form of architecture. This is a Greek Revival home that's a suburban villa. It sits right in the middle of the city of Natchez. It always has sat right in the middle of the city of Natchez. It never was a working plantation. A plantation, by definition, is not a home at all. It is a farm where enforced labor is used to work the field. So this is not a plantation home. This is a Greek Revival suburban villa. Now, it is built in distinctly the Natchezian style of Greek Revival. We have a 4-pile design, so 2 rooms at the front, 2 rooms at the back, and those are stacked 3 stories high. But you'll see here a central hallway with a front door and then the back door behind the cameraman. This was used as 19th century air conditioning. Both of these doors could be opened, the windows could be raised, and it would create a vacuum that would pull the air throughout the house, keeping it cool in these painfully hot Mississippi summers. But what do you not see in the main hall here in Dunleith? There's nowhere to get to the second floor. There's no staircase. Like we see in so many of these early period homes, the staircase is generally located in the center hall. Well, here in Natchez, gradually over time, those staircases were moved to the side and then off of the hallway altogether into an ante-room that you see right here in this archway. And that was to give a free-flowing breeze through this front hall with no obstruction from that stair. You'll see that all the doors are golden oak faux bois. They're absolutely beautifully done. We see a lot of golden oak faux bois throughout the city of Natchez. It was very trendy at the period. Let's go into the main double parlors and take a look at some of the elements there. Here we are in the gorgeous double parlor. Of course, this would have been a public space used for entertaining. That's the purpose of the pocket doors behind me. During less formal times, those pocket doors could have been closed. You'll see that they're also beautiful golden oak faux bois. But when there were parties going on here, the family could open the double doors and this could be used as a small ballroom for dancing. You'll see the trims and moldings in this house are typical Greek Revival. The entablatures and architraves are heavy, they're thick, but they're very, very simple. Not a lot of ornament. We don't see that till much later in the 19th century in what we would consider the Victorian era and different styles of architecture therein. We know that this room does not look anything like it did in the 19th century. We have a photograph of what this space looked like. There was no taupe paint in the room at that time. There was exuberant floral wallpaper. You see that some of the trim surrounding the windows has disappeared. These gold cornices were not in place. We had a much simple portiere around the window, but we know this is the same room because we can match the fireplace in the picture.
We're so excited to have Neurohacker as a sponsor for this video. Neurohacker packs 7 of the most science-backed senolytic ingredients into one formula called Qualia Senolytic. And you can take it just 2 days a month for fast, noticeable benefits and a much better aging process. Non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, and the ingredients are meant to complement one another, factoring in the combined effect of all ingredients together. I love the fact that you only have to take it twice a month, which I can remember to do. It's also backed by a 100-day money-back guarantee, so you have nearly 3 months to try Qualia Senolytic. My energy and my brain function has really improved. I can see the results from taking this product. If you're in your late 20s or older, adding Qualia Senolytic to your diet can play a crucial role in combating negative aging symptoms. Go to neurohacker.com/restoration for up to 50% off Qualia Senolytic. And as a fan of our Restoration Nation, use code RESTORATION at checkout for an extra 15% off your first purchase. That's neurohacker.com/restoration to try Qualia Senolytic with code RESTORATION and start aging on your terms.
I know a lot of you are going to comment about the carpets on the floors and say, get rid of those carpets, we want to see the hardwoods. Carpet on the floor was a sign of extreme wealth at this time. Carpets were created in 24-inch runs and they were sewn together. They were laid down during the cold seasons and often pulled up in the summer, but they were always pulled up during a party. Carpets were extraordinarily expensive to create, and they were even more expensive to ship because most of them were produced in factories and mills in France or in the Northeast. So you've heard the term cutting the rug? That is literally what they would do. When people would come to dance, they would cut the stitching in the carpet and roll it up. So they would cut the rug so that when people danced on the carpets, they didn't wear through the fine wool or silk. So that is not apocryphal architecture, that's a fact. Well, here we are in the dining room of Dunleith. This is, to me, the most important room of our tour for two reasons. First of all, we have some architectural reasons, a fascinating story, and then we have an amazing story of one of the former enslaved workers in this home that directly connects to this room. So first, let's talk about the architectural feature in this room that everybody oohs and ahs over when they come into the room, and that is the French-produced Zuber wallpaper. Zuber has been handmade in France, hand-blocked since the 18th century. It is still produced and it is incredibly expensive. 2,000 blocks were needed to produce this pattern. This pattern is called les zones, which means the zones. And if you pan around the room, you can see a variety of temperate zones. We have desert, we have swamp, we have mountainous. Behind the huge mirror is Arctic, so it's beautiful wallpaper alone. But the story of this wallpaper is what makes it fascinating. This is the last copy of Les Zones that Zuber ever produced. It was in their warehouse when World War II broke out and Germany invaded France. The production company Zuber took the wallpaper, they rolled it up, they stored it in some tubes, they buried it in a cave and left it there for the duration of the war. And it was during the war that the Germans destroyed the 2,000 blocks that it took to create this pattern. After the war, the paper was dug up, and through a series of auctions and trades, the paper ended up here in Dunleith. And this is the paper Les Zones that hangs in this dining room, the last of this beautiful pattern ever to be produced by the company. Now, let's talk about the person who is inextricably linked to this room and whose life is an inspiring tale of what could be possible after emancipation, after the American Civil War. A house servant worked here by the name of JR Lynch, John R. Lynch. He was a dining attendant. He would have worked in this room. We know that in the 19th century, there was no chandelier here. There was a punka fan. Punka fan is a large, flat, wooden fan. It was introduced from the Indies early in the 19th century, imported into the southern climate, and it was mechanized by having a pulley system and a rope. And a servant would stand in the corner and pull the rope to keep the flies away from the food during meals. And that was John Lynch's job here at Dunleith. Well, after the American Civil War, the emancipation of the enslaved workers here in the South, the rich property owners, many of them struggled to keep their properties because of increasing taxes, because of the loss of their free labor. They could no longer keep up these huge properties. And so industrious people were able to swoop in and scoop up these properties. John Lynch was one of those people. We have records of him buying properties all over the city of Natchez. We know he bought Saragossa. We know he bought land on Homachito. There are dozens of homes that he bought here in town. And he bought many plantations outside of the city. He put tenant farmers to work on those plantations and made himself a fortune. He was appointed a major in the United States Army and served all throughout the Pacific. And upon his death, he was buried at Arlington National Cemetery.
Dunleith sits on the site of a much earlier home, Ruthlands, which was probably built in the late 18th century by Job Ruth. Through a series of marriages, deaths, and inheritances, Dunleith came into the possession of General Dahlgren. On August the 17th of 1855, General Dahlgren wrote that Ruthlands was struck by lightning and destroyed. He goes on to say, "In consequence of my wife desiring terracotta chimney tops placed, which were elevated above the surrounding china trees, and so affording an object of the electric fluid, I rebuilt the house after a plan by Mr. A.J. Downing, carried out by Mr. Crothers, one of the best and ablest mechanics, and which, barring accident, will long stand as a testament of his skill and fidelity, for no more substantial house was ever erected." The attribution of the design of Dunleith to Andrew Jackson is somewhat confounding, as he was an opponent of the Greek Revival mode. It's more likely that it was Mr. Crothers, noted to be, quote, one of the best and ablest mechanics, who was in fact responsible for its design and construction. Crothers was a resident of Natchez, and in 1860 was 41 years of age. He came to Mississippi with his family and became one of the leading woodworkers, carpenters, and planners in the city. Dunleith is a 5-bay, 2-story residence with a full attic and its original cellar beneath the dining room. It faces east on its 40-acre site within the city limits of Natchez. The exterior walls and the 2-story columns are plastered brick painted white. Ornamental iron balustrades of different patterns but similar proportions enclose the galleries at the first and second floor. Sidelights, transom, double pairs of pilasters, and fully expressed entablature framing a single-leaf opening produce a large-scale treatment in keeping with the monumentality of the house. Floor-length double-hung windows are 6/9 and have 3-part green wooden shutters. The upper surfaces of their decorative lintels extend inward in a rising curve from the square end blocks and join center blocks which simulate keystones. Tuscan columns surround the house in a colonnade which supports an architrave with paneled soffit, a plain frieze, and a projecting cornice heavily bracketed.
Well, there are dozens of amazing outbuildings here at Dunleith, but I had to show you this one personally. This is the poultry house. This is the chicken coop here at Dunleith. Look at the grand style in which the chickens lived. These bars are to keep them safe at night from foxes or raccoons or weasels, any of the wildlife here that would have wanted to have a little chicken snack. And look at their little doors. These are the little Gothic arch doorways the chickens could go in at night to stay safe. So I don't know about you, but I feel like I could have very happily lived as a chicken at Dunleith in the 19th century. We hope you've enjoyed this look inside and outside of Grand Dunleith with us today. Dunleith was a private home until 1976. I can't believe that. It remained a private home much longer than many of these enormous estates did. But since then, it's been a bed and breakfast. And now Dunleith is a thriving inn and event center. So if you would like to spend some time here at Dunleith, you can book your stay in the link below. It is a beautiful property to explore. You've seen the 40 acres that surround it. They are worth coming to Natchez for themselves. But then you have the city of Natchez all around you. Our own conservatorship, Auburn, is just around the corner. You can come and see us. Our project Hope Farm is less than a block away. So come to Dunleith, enjoy the hospitality of this beautiful home, and come see us while you're in Natchez. We'll see you next time.